Right, we're back again, and this time it's pre-release thoughts, my pre-release thoughts, just not any old pre-release thoughts, mine specifically, for my upcoming book, Heart of the Mockingbird. In fact, by the time you're listening to this, it's probably about to be out in the world in a day or two, so that's quite exciting. As was the case with Nick and Kim, Coupled in Crime 2, Heads or Tails. I've got to give you the full title, obviously. As was the case with Nick and Kim 2, and its pre-release thoughts video, I'm going to go through a bunch of different subjects, different talking points, and let's see if HOTM's is longer, the same, or shorter than NK2. I would be surprised if it was shorter with my rambling, which I'm literally doing right now, but let's see. Okay, I'm gonna get on with it. Let's go. First thing, the elephant in the room, I guess, although I know, well, my writing buddies, Jason Casey, have been bothered by this particularly. But it has taken me 3 years to write HOTM. SOTM, Song of the Mockingbird, being its predecessor, or its big full-length novel predecessor. That was released in 2022, in October of 2022, which is crazy to think about. Then we had Talon's A Mockingbird novella, which I'm actually struggling to think was that. I think it was 2024. But obviously the next full-length book in the Mockingbird trilogy, which is obviously Heart, which is obviously this one, that took me 3 years. Now, there were a range of reasons why this happened. Most primary reason, I would say, is I got a full-time job. So suddenly you're working 9 to 5, you're not a student anymore, you don't have all this bonus time, on your hands. Yeah, I don't really have too many regrets about my approach to writing during my uni days. However, if I did have one, which I do think of with slight remorse occasionly, it would be not making full use of all that extra time because gosh, I really feel time constraints now. Yeah, because you get home from work. Well, for me, get home from work, go to the gym, eat dinner, chill with my partner, with my fiance, go to bed after a couple of hours watching television. Occasionally squeeze in writing when he goes to the gym. He goes to a different gym to me and later in the day than I do. So I get a bit of writing time in then. But yeah, it's a lot more difficult. And these past 3 years have just, because I went, I was dealing with the transition from being a student to being a full-time worker, to being in the fully grown up outside world. I didn't struggle with it, to be fair. I myself did not struggle with the transition, but my writing did. My motivation actually to write did, because of that transition. And I would ask myself, across the span of these 3 years, was it the narrative that was putting me off? Was I just not that into HOTM? And I would have to say, at times, I actually wasn't into it, to be frank, because I constantly have all these different story ideas cycling around my crazy brain. And they were sort of like, oh, well, instead of HOTM, you can write NK2, which is obviously what ended up happening last year, which I think my head, my brain, my writer's muse really needed, because once I wrote NK2, once I actually wrote a different project to HOTM, that was when HOTM's muse, my muse for that, my motivation to complete that, came back and I was able to finish the book. I love the narrative. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that like I'm on a podcast with multiple people. I'll talk about that a bit more in a second. But yeah, I love the narrative. I'm sure people listening you know, you guys listening right now, guys, gals, they, thems, I'm sure you get it. Motivation, especially in our doom scrolling era we're experiencing with social media right now. Like, you'd rather be doing anything but the things you should be doing, or the things that really matter to you, because, oh, you could just be swiping through TikTok instead. It's nuts, man. And I will be honest, again, like I was with the my on and off perspective towards HOTM and wanting to write it. Yeah, I can fall into a bit of a TikTok and Instagram trap quite easily. But I have noticed in the past few months, I seem to have subconsciously weaned myself off social media. I still use it quite frequently, don't get me wrong, but I'll literally have the most minute scroll on TikTok and Instagram, which are definitely my most used social media platforms, and then I'm done. And then I'll, you know, be chilling with my fiance. I'll be writing. I'm writing a lot more than I used to, gosh. And to be fair as well, last year I did write almost 100k words across multiple different projects. So yeah, 3 years is a hell of a time, especially for poor Casey and Jace and Alice, who this book is dedicated to. But thank you guys for, you know, waiting on me, and I hope it was worth it. My next topic I'd like to discuss is, of course, the narrative, without being too spoilery or particularly spoilery at all. I'd just like to talk about the main characters, the dual protagonists, Juliet and Cliff, and their journeys in HOTM. Now, their journeys are profound, in my opinion, compared to and as a result of Song's story and where that left them. SOTM was a majority, or is a majority, Juliet POV. These are first person perspective novels, by the way. Dual POV, so Cliff and Juliet's perspectives in Song and now in Heart. In Talon's 3 different perspectives, the first person perspectives of Juliet's friends who get caught up in her, you know, very dangerous game of cat and mouse with her and Cliff and the assassins from Argent House who are coming for them. On the behalf of their boss, Catherine Argent, who I might briefly talk about in a moment if I remember to in this talk, in this video, in this recording. But this novel, okay, so Song is majority Juliet's POV, or POV, and Heart is majority Cliff's POV, which I really, really enjoyed. Now, of course, I love Juliet's POV, and my God, she goes through a lot in Song, and she goes through even worse stuff, I'm not going to lie to you, in Heart of the Mockingbird. But Cliff also goes through some pretty... it's a lot of past trauma. Cliff has a lot of past trauma that he is contending with. And actually, for the first time in 22 years since it happened, he's processing it. And sort of accepting it. More like accepting he did horrible, terrible things, but this is who he is, and maybe he can make reparations with the people he's hurt. And I won't give away who those people were, obviously, because like I said, I'm trying to keep this relatively spoiler-free, but that's where Cliff's at. And there is more going on, but again, keeping it relatively spoiler-free, so I won't go too into it. And yeah, like I said with Juliet, she's got, and I can talk about this, of course, if you haven't read Song of the Mockingbird, maybe just skip forward dramatically now, but at the end of, or the last couple chapters of Song of the Mockingbird, Juliet has to kill 2 of Catherine Argent's footmen to defend herself, to save her life, and to save Cliff's life too, which will be, you know, a point of contention, him not thanking her, him not addressing the elephant in the room, that is, she saved his life but had to kill 2 lives in the process. She's dealing with all that, and she's not dealing with it very well. Naturally, who would? You know, she was a perfectly ordinary person, just like you or me, unless you watching this as some sort of... I don't know. Yeah, let's not get into that. You know what I mean. Anyway, so... So she's dealing with that, understandably, quite poorly. And this will lead to her making... well, I am curious, because the only person who's read this book is me. So for the proofreading, for the editing, yeah, obviously for the writing it... The only person who's done all that is me. So I have my perspective on it. I have predictions as to how readers may react to Juliet's decisions and actions, and also Cliff's decisions and actions in HOTM. But time will tell, ultimately, how people react. Some people might think, my God, Juliet, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You're being ridiculous. But I'm hoping the majority, even if they do think that, also have that empathy and that understanding that she is going to make potentially irrational choices and very intense, perhaps unthinkable choices because of the extreme trauma / PTSD she's experiencing from killing these 2 footmen. But let's see. We'll see. I'd also like to briefly talk about the 2 new major characters, Olga Kaminska and Ren Sao. Now, it's going to sound strange, but I almost unintentionally did this in a way. Because Cliff and Juliet, slight spoiler alert, I guess, spend the majority of heart apart. I like that rhyme. So in order for that to work and it not just be them in their own heads all the time, I know it sounds strange, sort of unintentionally / subconsciously made sure they each had a partner in the form of a new main character. So Cliff has Olga, who is an old friend and ally and perhaps something more of his. Okay, that might cause a conflict in the novel. You'll have to wait and find out about that. And then Juliet has Ren. And again, you know, he's an ally. She thinks she can trust him because of one certain reason, again, can't get into. But it's a very strong reason. Yet also, people might argue, somewhat flimsy, really. But anyway, let's see again what will happen. And also, feelings, romantic, sexual, pretty intense because of Juliet's heightened anxiety and trauma are cropping up between her and Ren. And that makes for, I would say, pseudo conflict between them. It's more of a conflict in Juliet. Ren knows what he wants, and he wants her by his side. He doesn't just want her in a romantic and or sexual way. He wants her to be with him, to be on his side in this. And I won't give away what his role is because, again, big spoiler. It's a big spoiler, but yeah, it should be quite interesting watching that develop. Obviously, Juliet's like having this crazy internal fight of, God, I want to be with him, but also I can't be with him because of, again, what he is. Like, what's his job, which is not an ordinary 9 to 5, that's for sure, guys. But yeah, it's going to be super, super interesting to see people react to Olga and Ren's characters. I think people will really like Olga. She's very serious, she's very fierce, and she's very funny. Well, I hope I've written her in a funny way, not in an overbearing, dare I say this phrase, MCU-like humour. Hopefully I've avoided that. It used to crop up in my writing quite a few years ago, probably my Wattpad days, which are probably over 10 years ago now. But occasionally it does crop up and I'm quickly like in proofreading, absolutely not, mate, let's amend that. We don't want MCU-like humour. And then I think people will like Ren because he's sexy, he's mysterious, he's handsome, he's a gentleman. But at the end of the day, can we trust either of them? Can we trust Olga? Can we trust Ren? I guess, again, you'll have to wait and read it. Okay, to conclude, I would just like to talk about what to expect emotionally, which sounds a bit wild. But as I've been teasing, or maybe perhaps tormenting Jason Casey with these whole, past 3 years, this book, and in my opinion, is quite emotionally intense. For Cliff, Julia, and all involved, including the readers, including the audience. So just prepare yourselves. Things get pretty heavy, like Song of the Mockingbird and Talons, a Mockingbird novella. We get quite dark and intense and traumatic for the characters, potentially for the readers, as I sometimes joke. So just be aware of that. It sounds like I'm warning you, but it's more of a disclaimer, really. These books are quite intense, so they're very, very different. They're the polar opposite of Nick and Kim coupled in crime. When we're talking about tone and characters, and light-hearted versus dark-heartedness, which is very fitting, given this book is, of course, titled Heart. So yeah, just be mindful of that. But if you don't mind a bit of a emotional / mental reckoning, I'm sure you'll get a good kick out of HOTM. It's really surreal. I got my author copy literally last night, opened it up, sent Jason Casey on our Discord server pictures, videos of me reacting, just being like, oh my god, can't believe this book is with me. I'm literally holding it right now. It's so beautiful. Stray Beetle, the cover artist, designer, they did a fantastic job of it, and I can't wait to see more copies of HOTM out in the world. So yeah, it's out Tuesday, 21st of October. I don't know when you'll be watching this. Like I said, probably like a couple of days or maybe even just a day before. But if this pre-release thoughts video is what you've stumbled across and is the first thing you've heard rather than seen of me, and it's enticed you to want to try the Mockingbird trilogy or another one of my novels, if you go on my YouTube bio, there's a link to my link tree, and that'll go to all my books and stuff. And my social media, you can even email me if you want. I've got like a little email button there as well. It's a little bit dusty in those emails right now, so if you want to send me something, I guess go ahead. Anyway, yeah, I think that's all I have to say. So I don't know when I'm next going to do one of these. I'm a long way off having anything else finished. I think it'll be next year I have anything else finished out of all these secret projects, or rather just projects I haven't publicly announced yet. Well, some of them I actually have on my Instagram, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on and on. I'm pretty sure this is double the length of Nick and Kim 2's PRT video. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. God knows when that'll be, but yeah, take care of yourselves. See you again.